A lot of people don't hear it. A lot of people don't, they're not in environments where anybody's telling them, I love you. Like, I don't want anything from you. I just love you. Like, you're cool. You're amazing. You're fun. Like, I just love you. You admire people and you just love them. And it's an emotion. It is not supposed to be a word that carries so much weight that presses you down or it chokes you to say it. It should be freeing. It's liberating. Like, love should be like air. Like, it should be something you breathe in and out, and other people should breathe in and out. So I love you. Like, it's really that simple. My first love. Oh my God. Husband, I love you. I mean, you're my final love, and you have to know that's the most important, but they asked me a question and I have to answer it now. Okay, first love. So all the girls watching this, you know what I'm talking about. That first love that literally makes you feel like you're going crazy. Like, it is so obsessive. I don't even know if I can call it love at this point. It is, but I think for me, the first love, I'll speak about my first two loves. One was for a guy, and the other was for a friend, actually. And I want to describe those two moments in my life because I think for me, that was when I realized, or I started to define what love is and maybe what it shouldn't be. Growing up in a Nigerian household, I don't know how many mom and dad or Nigerian mom and dad are telling you I love you growing up. So, I think I ended up trying to find love outside. I know they loved me, but they weren't telling me. So I needed to go to places where you would hear it. And fortunately or unfortunately for a lot of us, the first times you hear that phrase, I love you, is when you're in a relationship. And there's such a heavy thing placed on him because the moment he says he loves you, we're getting married. After all, you have to marry me now. You love me, I love you. Kiloku. Right? So, interestingly enough, when I started dating, I dated a few other guys who say, I love you, I love you. It was just a nice to say. It was, okay, he loves me now, so he's my boyfriend. But the first time it really meant a lot, I would say, was probably the period of my life I was going through a lot. And I was dating a fantastic guy. I'm not here to slander anybody. I mean, he's my ex now, so. But anyway, yeah. And he was there, he was consistent, he was a great person. And the process of us exchanging those words, I love you, was a lot, like, it was really grounding and very detailed. And I would describe those moments as, everyone calls it puppy love, but I want to call it what's the word? A seasonal type of love. It is the first time you feel something of that magnitude. It is the first time you realize, I would do something for this person, or I would do more for them than maybe I would do for myself. And when you stop to think about what that is, it's simply selflessness. So technically, the first time I think when you feel puppy love is the first time you finally decide to start practicing selfless love, which is essentially what love should be. But as human beings, we have to think of ourselves first. If I'm hungry, I need to eat. It's always about I. So the moment you find yourself in that first deep love towards the opposite sex, it is, I'm hungry, but has he eaten? Is he hungry too? Or, very cliche, but they say there's a piece of cake and there's the last bite and, okay, I love him so much, he can have it. And when you think of those moments, you realize that it is just a mental state meeting a heart state, meeting a soul state. Like, everything is working together to create a compound feeling of depth, of, I feel so selfless towards this person. I love them. So that was, I would say, my first encounter with a love that I didn't know how to control. I wouldn't say it's my last bus stop because I don't even feel like that was the kind of love I would want to end up with, because it was so selfless. I didn't know how to put myself first to become a better person for the person I loved, if that makes sense. So I put so much pressure on the fact that I love you this much. So you must be able to do X, Y, Z for me. And it's your job to make me happy at all times, which essentially is not love. Love is a feeling, and it shouldn't be an act of wanting an exchange. So because I love you does not mean you are able to give me something in return. And that was one of my biggest encounters of love. Now, what balanced that out for me was actually the love I started developing through friendships. I started going on journeys with friends. So I met one of my best female friends and one of my best male friends who I ended up marrying. And the definition I had of love for them was simply different to the puppy love. It was a love that I felt towards them and I felt towards myself being around them. I wasn't no longer trading love. It wasn't but I love you, you didn't call me. It was I love you, are you okay? I didn't hear from you. They're two different things. I didn't need you to give me something back. I love you, so I want to make sure you're okay. And in those moments, it started to redefine what my definition of love was. And I realized the kind of journey I wanted to go towards love. I don't want no high maintenance love. I didn't want puppy love anymore. I wanted peaceful, peaceful love. If you cannot be there for me, whatever your reasons are, I accept it because of what? I love you. And I think that journey has made me someone who is so filled with love and who is able to give love in the way people actually need it. And I think I have a lot of people who love me, so it does work. Yeah. I'm still on a journey of asking myself some key questions. I don't know how people view this, but I don't expect too much. And it's not because I'm afraid of being disappointed. It's because I understand that humans are complicated and human beings are built to fuck up. What does that mean? That means people are not in existence for me. They're in existence for themselves. If I want to be in their life or I want them in my life, we all have to fit. So you know how you play Lego or a puzzle? I would say puzzle because Lego, the whole thing fits into the whole thing. But with a puzzle, it's like there's a point here and it has a hole here and there's another hole and you have to kind of put it together. That's how I see love. I genuinely feel like for me to know someone loves me is sometimes at different points of the puzzle, we click. And it doesn't have to be all the time. They just do little things. I pay attention to the most minute thing. It could literally be, Tobi, I thought of you today. How are you? Because a lot of people don't ask, how are you? Because I post a lot or I'm talking a lot, so I always seem fine. But when someone takes a moment to say, how are you? I'm like, oh, you care. I like that. Another thing for me that has made me understand when people loved me is going through one of the lowest periods of my life. There was a way people genuinely, even when they didn't have anything to say, they would still find the words to say something. And it's easier to say nothing. And that let me know I was loved. But generally, I think for me, it would probably be different types of act of service. Act of service tells me a lot about how you feel about me. Like, gifts are nice, but it's easy. Like, my husband has not done something. Maybe he doesn't, I don't know, remember it's Mother's Day or he forgets something so little. It's easy for him to go and buy a gift. What is harder is the part of you remembering that, oh, I should have done this, or remembering for next time. Like those little moments. When you take my little moments into account, it makes a lot of difference to me. I'm currently going through a lot of body dysmorphia. Like, I just had a baby and I'm really like uncomfortable in my skin. And someone randomly messaged me and said, "What's your address?" And I'm like, "For what?" And she goes, "Oh, there's a band I got and it really helped me. I don't know if it's going to work for you." I don't even talk to this person. Maybe we've spoken twice ever. And the fact that they did that, it's an act of love. It cannot be not love. Like, you must care to an extent. You must love who I am or what I represent, or want to help me solve something based on your own experiences. So those little acts of service mean a lot to me. It's my friends thinking through the smallest part of things, like, she would like this, let me do this for her. Or when I'm struggling to keep up with my life, people coming to make it easier. Or I have social anxiety and a friend is like, "Let's do something." I'm doing everything possible to cancel. And they're like, "No, I'm not going to let you. This is how we're going to arrange it. Okay, when is convenient for you? Tobi, I've sorted this. I've sorted this." Like, that makes me feel good as a person, and it really helps me quantify the love. I don't know if that's a good thing, but acts of service really work for me. And I feel the most loved when people around me solve potential problems I could have, and they continue to show up for me. And for me, that is, yeah, so maybe I do like quantifiable love. I like to be able to measure it. I like to be able to feel it in an area of my life. So words are great, and I love hearing "I love you." But when you act on that love in the smallest of way, it doesn't have to be, it could be once a year that you did something very tiny for me. I don't forget. I literally hold on to it, and it keeps me going as a person. And yeah, I'd probably say, like, paying attention to my needs is definitely one way I feel very, very loved, and I feel thought about. I feel like at some point in your day-to-day, I crushed your mind, or sometime in the month, and you thought, what could I do for this person? I must say, though, that my happiness, or the luck, I don't know what to call it, that I feel from how much people express love to me, is also because I communicate very clearly what my issues are, what I'm struggling with, and what I would like to have help with. And I think that makes a world of difference, because then people are able to plug in easily, as opposed to them going off to think, how can I show this person I love them? Like, and I think it just makes it easier. So yeah. The greatest love. Lovable is happening to me. Okay, what is my greatest love? You know, right now, I think I go through different seasons. Like, I'd probably be cheating if I say love is equal, because it probably isn't. But there's some key loves in your life that kind of hold bigger weight. What I mean by that is you prioritize them over other things. Everybody is going to prioritize their significant other. Everybody is going to prioritize their parent or their sibling. So there is hierarchy to it. But the one I have not been able to put in a hierarchy at this very moment in my life, I don't know about tomorrow, I don't know about next year, or I don't know, is the love I feel for my child. It is the purest, purest, purest form of love I have ever experienced in my life. Because you give, you give, you give, and you give, and you still love this person for taking and taking from you. And you wonder, had they taken enough? Can I give some more? And for me, that is where we should base all of our love in. And that's why I started by saying, until you learn the act of selflessness, you will struggle to love, because that's essentially what it is. And that is the love for a child or for children. I cannot think of how much sleepless nights I'm going through. I'm literally dipping in and out of postnatal depression. I hate expressing milk. I'm tired. I have like a joint pain. Like everything is going wrong. But I see this little person and the second wrist can go. Like literally, like you can suck me dry. Like, what do you need? Like, I'll give it again and again and again and again. Did I say again and again? Like it is, for me at this very moment, that is my greatest love. Like, even thinking about her now, I'm like so happy. Do you know what? I'm going to be happy pumping some milk today. I've literally talked myself into it. I love her so much. But yeah, that's my greatest love. Sorry, husband. Sorry, mother. Sorry, everyone else. She wins. I actually think love is complicated. I think it is oftentimes described too simply for what it really is. Like, let's take a second, think about it. Like, is this emotion you're supposed to feel towards so many different types of people? The person you lay at night with, your mother, your father, your friends, your, colleagues. And we're trying to use this one word to define it, or we think it can be so easily described. I think it is so complicated because do we now talk about the different tiers of what it means? Do we talk about the different emotions it brings out of me? And I think for a long time, I've always struggled to really define what love is using maybe one adjective or one feeling. So for me, if I had to really describe what love is, I would say love is complicated. Love is consistency. If you cannot be there consistently for someone, I think it would be a struggle to actually say you love them. I think love is beauty. When you feel something towards someone that is very pure, you oftentimes start to see the beautiful things about them. And for that reason, you start to find yourself more endeared towards them. Then it becomes easy for you to sit there and say, I love you. And sometimes I want to grasp what that means. Like, why am I telling this person I love them? Why do I love my friend? Why do I love my husband? Why do I love my child? Why do I love my mom? Is it what they've done for me? Is it how they make me feel? Is it when I'm in my low moments, I think about a memory that I've had with them and it warms me and it gives me a reason to keep going? I don't know. And I think I'm still on the journey to actually define what love is. And which is why I say it is complicated, because it is a feeling I have to have towards so many different people at the same time, at different times. And for that reason, it's truly complicated. But for me, trying to define love in itself has kept me focused on always trying to go on the journey to define what love is. What do I mean by that? For a long time, I don't know if I knew what love was. Or for me, love was the one thing you felt towards your significant other. So I grew up in a country where you're kind of trained, or one of the biggest things you look forward to in your life is being with somebody else or finding a person you want to get married to. And that is the place you use the word love a lot. And growing up, my mom, I love her so much, but she wasn't the most huggy person. She wasn't someone who would tell us all the time, I love you. She felt it, I could feel it, but it just wasn't coming out as often as I now understand it can come out. And growing up, I chose that I was going to be the opposite. So I find myself telling my friends very easily, I love them, so much that some people would see me and maybe after a few moments together. We could talk on the phone, or I would be saying goodbye to them. I'd be like, love you. And they're like, love who? And I'm like, you. And they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I found it interesting as well. And I decided to go on a journey where I found it very easy to tell someone I love you, because it actually doesn't mean I'm obsessed with you or I cannot do without you. It just means there's something about you that endears me, that pulls that word out of me, that I love this about you. It could be the fact that you make people feel good. It could be the fact that you're really kind. It could be the fact that you yourself need to hear it so often so that you can actually believe that someone loves you for maybe doing nothing. And I've grown up to kind of find myself easily saying it a lot more. And I'm quite happy about that journey, actually. And it taught me to realize that it wasn't the person I got married to. That wasn't the only person that was going to hear me say those words. And in the course of my relationship, I have found that whoever dates me has to be comfortable that I'm telling every other person that I love them. And it's so interesting because I used to wonder, would he not feel special anymore because I'm telling someone else right in front of him or away from him that I love you? However, I like to think I date very mature guys. So I love the fact that they've taken it on the chin and they realize that the love I have for them does not hinder the love I have for somebody else. And just because I'm saying the same phrase, the same 3-letter word to somebody else, it doesn't change how I feel about them. But it is okay for me to love different people in different capacities because it makes me feel fuller. There's some things my husband cannot give me that my friend can give me, and I really love her for that. There's some things my friend cannot give me that my mother can give me, and I really love her for that. And I don't know if that makes me just, going everywhere trying to look for love, but I think it's just so beautiful that I can say it multiple times in a day, and by the end of the day, I feel so full of love because not only am I receiving it, I'm also giving it out. And I don't know, life just became more peaceful, more 360, and nobody's jealous anymore. Like anything in life, there's the ideation of it or the idea of it, and then there's the implementation and execution of it. And what I find is I personally I have two different kind of personalities. I have the one people perceive and I have my actual. My actual personality is extremely logical. Like I actually struggle with added emotions to a lot of the decisions I make, including the emotional ones. But I understand that because I have gone through the process of attaching logic to it, when it comes out through implementation, it comes out as emotional because it has been gone through a process, and I'm very intentional with my intent versus effects. So this is how I want you to feel, or this is how I want to feel. So this is exactly what is going to go into that process so that I get the outcome I desire. Walk with me. Now, if you think through love, I know what I want to feel. So rather than expecting you to know how I want to feel, I really struggle to leave that in your hands. I have to then tell you or influence something that is going to make you help me get my desired outcome, because at the end of the day, I want what I want. If I leave it to you or to chance, it might end up not coming out the way I desire it. So it is very important that in the implementation of an idea, we're very clear of the desired outcome. I've used a lot of big words. Let me, screw back and break it down. Technically, what I'm trying to talk about is the expression of love. When you express love, you have to be clear on what the desired outcome is for you and for the person. It sounds a lot complicated, but it's actually really easy. You tell someone you love them. What do you want? Why are you telling them? Do you want them to feel good? Do you want them to say it back to you? Do you want them to feel strong? Do you want them to feel powerful? Whatever that effect is, it is going to do something for them. Whether you're in control of what it does for them or you're not in control, it's going to happen. The difference is I'm saying, I know what I want out of it when I say it. So expressing love has to come with a lot of effect, and it has to be tied to an intent. And everyone expresses love very differently, and everyone accepts love expressions differently. For me, when I express love, I'm very intentional with the person I am expressing it to. I study people intricately. What does Tobi want when someone expresses love to her? Some days I want to feel it. Some days I just need you to act. And I don't need you to tell me, because telling me actually means nothing. But when you do something that impacts a situation I'm going through in that moment, you have expressed it in ways that nothing your words could never have expressed it in the same way your actions are. I don't know if you've heard a lot of people say action speaks louder than words. Well, I believe that will only happen sometimes. Sometimes I want the actions and sometimes I want the words. So the question is, do you know the person, or do you feel the person enough to understand, do they have different expressions of love? And are you able to give or gift the different expressions of love at the time they need those different expressions? Yeah, and I would say that is why I apply logic a little bit to it. I have friends who I tell them I love you every single day, and it makes them feel so good. And we don't have to see each other. We don't have to do anything. Just the fact that I say it is enough for them, because at the back of their minds, they know that this girl loves me. So if I need her, I can contact her. I have friends who, Tobi, so many words. It does nothing for me. What do? I figure out what is their ideal expression of love. Do they like acts of service? So I decide I'm going to get candles and I'm going to write a little poem on the candles and send to them on a random day, because I like the shock value of love as well, of expressing love. It's so sexy. And by the time you do that, you've created the same memory for that person as you did for the person you tell I love you to. Either way, they both know you love them. For some people, it is being present, which means I have to make an effort with my calendar to visit and to touch base physically, so they can see me, they can feel me, because the words doesn't work for them and the gifts doesn't work for them. And ideally, most human beings actually benefit in expressions that combine all of this together without being forceful or without dictating when they do come. So I would say expressing love has been a big journey for me, because using myself as an example, I realized that different people need different expressions at different seasons in their lives. Some people are going through something in this moment and they want you to physically be there. Some people just need a little reminder. Some people just need one message to tell them. As for me, what I expect when someone is expressing love to me, I would say I'm pretty simple. I'm very low maintenance. I just like consistency. I want to be able to know that you're there. You're busy and busy. We don't need to see each other all the time, but there are little things you can do that just makes me know that this person loves me. But I've learned to be very, to reduce my expectations on how people express their love. However, in my low emotional moments where I want someone to really express love to me and they're not able to, I just tell them what I want. So what do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. My husband and I have very different emotional landscape. So when I want something, I send an email and say, this date is coming up. It means a lot to me. I would like X, Y, Z. And this is how I would like it done. Please, please don't fuck it up. Do it exactly like this. And in there, I also give a little room, and I'm like, while you're there, sprinkle a little bit of yourself in there. And, while I won't be surprised when it's done, what is most exciting to me is I've asked for something and you have done it. And that in itself is also an expression of love. But what I will not do is wait for him to think it himself, because he's not. And I'm going to be so pissed off. Either way, nobody's happy. Nobody can express the love they feel. We're fighting, we're confused. Like, I don't need that. It's 2024. Anybody got time waiting for anyone to come and tell me I love you? I will tell you how I want to be loved. But yeah, honestly, expressing love it doesn't come to everyone naturally. And we have to be really graceful about that and be very communicative and remember that closed mouths don't what? Don't get fat. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, expressing love is a process for a lot of people, and we just all have to keep learning. When I was getting married, I always felt like I didn't know if my friends realizes I like surprises because I'm always the strong one. I'm always the sentimental one. I'm the one that, I would when £5 notes, the note was actually going out of I don't know, I don't want to use the word extinction, but yes, but I think extinction is for animals. When it was going out of existence, that's it. What I did for all my friends was I bought a card and I put £5 notes in them and I wrote their name on the £5 note and I said, this currency is going out of production, but here you are. It's not a lot. Well, it is a lot, but you get to keep one for good. And I signed on it. And I thought it was pretty cool. Like for me, that was I don't know, a surprise. I'm always trying to surprise someone or do something for them. I realized that because I was always the thoughtful one, not everyone around me was the same. And sometimes it would make me stop and think, "Ugh, is anybody going to plan a surprise for me someday? Is anyone going to do something that is going to like wow me?" And during my wedding period, I wanted a surprise bridal shower. And I realized that, you're setting yourself up, girl. So what do you want out of this? I was like, I want them to love on me and I want to be the star of the show on that day. So I called my best friend and I was like, I would like a nice bridal shower. I would like you guys to plan it and I would like to be surprised. And she just said, say no more. And in that moment, before I had that conversation, I was a little sad that why do I have to have that conversation? I didn't want to have that conversation. But I had to check myself because I was like, it's not that they don't love you. They just don't, maybe they're busy. Maybe they themselves do not have a full cup to pour out of. Maybe they just don't know what your expressions are, or they don't even know you needed this. And by the time they all came together and expressed their love for me and that phase of my life I'm about to go into, it was so amazing and I was so grateful. And I realized that all I had to do was communicate how I wanted to be loved. I read recently somewhere a few years ago, and it's been a rule I've held on to. Remember when we all used to go around saying, treat people how you want to be treated? And that has slightly changed for me. It is now treat people how they want to be treated. You have to be careful. There's a fine line. If I treat you how I want to be treated, what if you don't like how I treat myself? Or what if how I treat myself does not fit into or does not completely fill you up to be as happy as if I treated you how you want to be treated? So for example, if I liked waking up in the morning, because I like waking up in the morning, I'm calling you in the morning, you might just think, this is stressful. But if you like being called in the evening, then I stop and I don't put myself in that equation anymore. You like being called in the evening, so I call you in the evening and it makes you happier, you're more relaxed. So remember, like, expressing love, it is unique as a concept and you must study the person or be clear on how they would like to receive it so that when you express it, it is amazing for them when they receive it. And don't be scared to communicate how you want your love to be expressed to you, whether it be from your family, your friends, your partner. The more you communicate, the more people do things the way you would like it done. And ultimately, that just makes you happy. And who doesn't want to be happy? 37. I'm going to be 38 years old in a couple of months. And when I think of what I would have said to myself when I was younger, don't rush it, babe. You see that idea you had that you were going to marry at 21? I laughing, wishful thinking, because I would have been a terrible, terrible wife to somebody at 21. I would have even been a more terrible wife to anybody at 25. Like, it was just not going to happen. But guess what? Then it made sense. I was going to get married at 21. I have my first child at 25. Guy, I'm 38. I just had my first child. And your girl is struggling. A lot of my ideologies on timeline wasn't necessarily accurate because I didn't know what life was going to throw at me. So it was one thing to say I was going to do this by this age, or I was going to do this by this stage. But life in itself does what life does, and it is your job to go through life, not let life go through you, or not just live life. Like, go through it, feel all your feels, go through the emotions, love, lose, be happy, be unhappy. And in that state of things, do not feel like you failed because you had specific timelines. Like, I realized life just doesn't work like that. So all the timelines I set for myself to be with someone, set for myself to be married, set for myself for me and my husband to have done XYZ by, we've not hit any of those milestones at the time I intended them. And life is a lot. Life goals and achievements together with someone are a lot slower and more intentional than just, plucking data numbers from thin air and saying, I would like to do this by this time, just because potentially you read someone else's story. But yeah. On a final note, I think when you think about love, you must remember that your essence can be love. It doesn't have to be something you always have to tell people. It doesn't always have to be something that you must receive. By you just practicing and oozing and making your essence love, you find that you're already manifesting that feeling, that aura, that essence into your day-to-day. And no matter how you go about it, if your essence is love, you will attract essences of love. If your aura is love, you will attract people who have love aura. And that goes for both your platonic and your, romantic relationships. So yeah, let's keep practicing.